pleasure to be here, and it's such a beautiful theme you've got tonight, many voices, one song. I always feel humbled to be asked to speak at events like this, and I sometimes don't know what to speak about. But I was really inspired because I spoke to the last function I was speaking at. I asked what they wanted me to speak about. And I was blown away when the organiser said to me, I want you to speak about having it all. And I actually just started laughing at her and I said, having it all. Okay, do you think I have it all? And she said, well, seriously, you've got it together all the time on social media, you run your business, you've got 2 beautiful kids, you exercise all the time, you meditate, you eat well, you travel, you take your kids overseas. You need to tell us mums how you do it. Anyway, I've been working with women in my business for over 15 years in my job at Yummy Mum and Physio. And I've learned so much over the years working with women. I've heard all of their personal stories, and I think women are amazing. So we really are a sisterhood, and I think amazing things happen when we all stick together and support each other. We really have no idea what we're getting into when we fall pregnant and start our families. We enter into motherhood with certain expectations, probably some of them unrealistic, aren't aware of the enormity of what's ahead of us. We don't know what's going to happen. There's lifestyle adjustments, our relationships change, and certainly our identities change as things go along. We also play so many roles as women. So we're often wives or partners, we're friends, we're sisters, we're colleagues, we might be someone's boss, and all of a sudden we're mums. So we're here tonight as school mums and school mum friends. And we all know of the mental load of motherhood, and it's insane, right? It feels like we're on a never-ending roller coaster, and we're mindlessly multitasking and juggling just to try to do the best we can for our families. And let's face it, motherhood is a really tough gig. It's unpaid and it's voluntary. It's certainly the toughest gig I've had. And every phase of motherhood is challenging. So if you think back to the beginning, cracked nipples, we're sleep deprived, we've got vomit all over us, our boobs are sagging down to our bellies, and our pelvic floors are between our knees. We wonder when we're going to get our lives back. Are we ever going to have good sex again? Fast forward a few years and we're suddenly here as school mums. And it's that phase of life where back then we thought we'll finally have some time to ourselves. We were wrong. So the reality is we wake up every morning, we pour ourselves a coffee to get going, we make breakfast, we're yelling, barking orders at the kids to get their shoes, we'll then clean their teeth, find their library bag, you've got your school bags. Half the time I haven't done any homework and I haven't done my readers for the week. But we get there, we get to school drop off, we go to work, we check our emails, we check social media a few million times, we sneakily make a few personal calls to try and get things done around the house, look at our watch and it's time for school pickup again. And then we start with the after school activities. Homework again, we're trying to make a nutritious meal, trying to have some time with our husbands, have a glass of wine to unwind, we go to bed, we wake up in the morning and start again. Every now and then we might get a day off to go out with our school mum friends. Sometimes that ends in an Uber pickup. Or maybe that's just my school mum friends. Anyway, as mums, we're often the CEOs of our families, and we're certainly the ultimate givers. It does seem near impossible to try to find time to fit everything in. To exercise, to meal prep, to meditate, and just to do all those things we used to love before we were mums. And we think back to our BC days, our before children days, and we wonder, what the hell did we do with all that spare time? In my business, I do use my social media platform to promote positive health habits for mums, and I post a lot about exercise, nutrition, pelvic health, and self-care. I try to be as authentic as possible, sharing personal stories and tips and how we can try to find that elusive balance in our lives as mums. 5 years ago, my life changed overnight when my husband of 12 years suicided in our family home, leaving me a young widow and solo mum of 2 kids. So going back to that concept of having it all, I find it fascinating the perception people have on the lives of others, especially these days with the influences of social media. Why would anyone think a widowed solo mum with 2 kids has it all? It certainly got me thinking, what does that even mean to have it all? What does that look like? I have always struggled with that concept of having it all. And up until that day 5 years ago, I never needed to make a conscious effort to be happy. I never had big dreams of having it all. I was raised by parents who had little money and they saved scrupulously to give us kids a private education, we went to basic holidays at the beach, and I had a sister with a disability. So we found joy in very basic things. And my brother and I always joke that we are more than happy with mediocrity. My late husband, however, suffered terribly with happiness. And it pained me to watch him struggle to try to find the elusive happiness and his dream of having it all. Which is probably why I really struggled listening to people talking about wanting to have it all. It's only been since being widowed and having my world torn apart that I've consciously had to work at finding happiness again. For a long time, this made me really angry. Why did I have this suffering cast upon me when happiness used to come to me without any resistance, without any conscious effort at all, and without any thought? I know it sounds really cliche, and my younger self would be eye-rolling the shit out of me right now, but tragedy is deeply awakening, and I now see all of that suffering as a gift. It has opened my eyes to the beauty and the simplicity of life. But why is it that we need things like tragedy and big life events to awaken us to these things? And why is it that even when tragedy happens in your life, you can still find yourself looking for meaning? But it's not just me who's gone through hard times. There are so many people that are worse off than me. We never know what curveballs life is going to throw us. And we don't know what's going on in the lives of all the women around us, including all of your school mum friends here right now. Over the years, I've had many friends and many patients go through many different things, and I've heard so many stories. Divorces, separation, raising children with learning difficulties, mental illness, miscarriage, death of a family member, chronic illness and pain. Life really can be brutal, and suffering is all around us. So many voices, one song. The more I think about that theme, the more I really love it. I listen to women every day in my clinic, and they're all singing the same song. I just want to feel good, they all tell me. And it doesn't matter how many times I hear this from women, I'm really saddened. I wonder, why are so many mums feeling this way? Why are they not feeling good within themselves? I hear it over and over. Many women tell me the story of how they've slowly become disconnected in their lives as mothers, while the daily grind of mum life continues on. They slowly lose themselves, forget what they were once passionate about, they lose their sensuality, their life force, they lose touch with their divine inner selves. They start looking outward at what other people seem to have and compare themselves to the other seemingly super mums that have it all. Seeing women in this state really breaks my heart. Having listened to that same song from the women in front of me in clinic, I'm suddenly though overcome with excitement as I tell her, life's going to change because you've just taken a step to feeling good again. You've shown up for yourself and you've put yourself first. We are all responsible for our own happiness, and the key is to love ourselves enough to show up every single day. The daily grind of mum life, the disappointments, the frustrations, the annoyance, the sudden tragedies, they're always going to happen. They're part of the human condition. We are also biologically primed for threat. So we'll listen to that one negative thought that's in our mind, and we'll obsess about that one thing that we don't have that we think is going to make us feel better and make us feel like we're having it all. But in doing so, we're creating a cocktail of cortisol-driven stress hormones in our brain. And it's creating more suffering for us. But what I find really exciting is that we have the ability to override this with simple pleasures. We can make a conscious decision to produce our cocktail of happy hormones every single day. We can consciously connect with the enthusiasm of our inner child and make life just more playful. And just a thought for tonight, as women, did you know we have an organ in our body that's purely there for pleasure? The clitoris. I'm a women's health physio, I have to add that on. With 8,000 nerve endings. But this shows us that we are biologically wired to experience pleasure and joy. We must give ourselves the permission to experience this joy. And I don't mean just in sex, I mean in every single thing we do. We have the ability to change our brain chemistry by doing pleasurable things and releasing our own endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin and dopamine. And if we don't do this, if we don't create pleasure in our lives, our body's going to live by those stress hormones. We're going to live in a state of stress. It's going to affect our health, and it's certainly going to affect our libido. Women that don't feel good. So my passion in life is to inspire women to find their passion and to encourage them to find joy in their lives every single day. And this drives my work as a women's health physio and a health coach. I gain so much pleasure from running the 8-week challenges I do and building a supportive community around these women. And I'm inspired every day by the women that show up through my door because I know how much courage that takes to turn up and to want more from their lives. I've developed an amazing community of women who I call my Yummy Mummy family. They support each other every day. At training, they cheer each other on, they sing and they dance, they hold each other's babies, and they give each other space to express how they're feeling when the daily grind just gets too much. I often feel an overwhelming sense of pride when I see a woman's confidence soaring. Women who are once maybe scared of the gym environment, insecure, maybe lacking in self-esteem, they're suddenly singing and dancing in the gym. They're loading up a bar to deadlift with the confidence that I know they never knew they even had. And I find myself staring at these women in awe with just a big smile on my face. Because you see, it's not about having it all. It's about feeling that genuine pleasure in the moment of everything that they are doing. It's about feeling heard and feeling supported and feeling connected. I know that the feelings that they're experiencing in my community of women sends feel-good chemicals soaring through their body. And it allows them not only to get through the day, but they genuinely fall in love with life and they fall in love with themselves again. And I know this then has a massive ripple effect because a happy, fun-loving, confident woman is going home and creating joy in her family. Suddenly everything falls into place. A passionate woman, exercising, good nutrition, good health, she's happy. She's a mum who feels good. Life is hard sometimes, but this is what I have learned. We all have the power within us to drive our own destiny. We all have the power to produce those feel-good chemicals by simply giving ourselves permission to experience pleasure and joy in our lives. We can dance, we can do that tonight. We can sing, we can hug our friends for 30 seconds and release endorphins and oxytocin. We can get naked in the ocean like I make my friends do with me when we have weekends away. We can have sex, we can exercise, we can enjoy nutritious food, we can be curious and step out of our comfort zones, and we can always try new things. We can surround ourselves with women who are inspiring and who support us to be our best version of ourselves. All we have to do is show up every single day. So thinking back to that conversation with the organiser at the last function I spoke at, and her perception that I have it all, I've started to realise she didn't want me to talk about having it all. She wanted me to talk about how I've managed to become so happy and content in my life as a widowed solo mum. Someone who clearly on paper does not have it all, but perhaps lives like she does. The thing is, I'm not trying to have it all. I fundamentally don't believe there is anymore. And the more I think about it, I often feel like I do have it all. And I know that when I don't feel that way, it's because I'm yearning for something that's outside of myself. Having it all is a state of mind. And all I need to be happy is my loving heart, my abundant soul, and my calm mind. It does take a lot of commitment to gratitude and healthy living and meditation to stay in this mindset. But when your mind and heart and soul all flow together without conflict, I think all of us mums can at least feel like we have it all. Thank you.